more as I set out to be an actress and was told things like, you can't be in these commercials because you're too ethnic. Even speaking that with that heavy Brooklyn accent was almost an offense.
Marisa Tomei didn't announce a comeback. She didn't explain a change. She simply showed up, and everything shifted.
Choice they've made to have Aunt May be younger. Do you know what I mean? I think it's a cool reboot.
Everyone is younger in it now.
Do you think Aunt May could get spun off into her own series?
I knew I was going to work for about 5 months in a row, and sometimes I get a little stir crazy.
Fans noticed immediately, not because something felt flashy, but because something felt different. Familiar, yet sharper. Calm, yet commanding. This wasn't about chasing trends or rewriting her image. It sparked questions instead of answers and quietly challenged long-held expectations. Why now? What changed behind the scenes? And why does this moment feel bigger than appearance alone? The transformation did more than turn heads. It changed the tone of the conversation. And the reason why is more layered than it first appears. The appearance that changed the conversation. Marisa Tomei's recent appearance didn't feel loud or dramatic. It didn't come with bold statements or big explanations. Instead, it felt quiet and natural, the kind of change that happens slowly and becomes noticeable only when it fully settles. People didn't react because she looked completely different. They reacted because she looked comfortable, confident, and fully present. It felt like someone who had grown into herself over time. For many years, Tomei has been known for her timeless beauty and easy charm. She has never tried to shock people or chase trends. Her style and presence have stayed steady, shaped by personal comfort rather than outside pressure. Because of that, this moment stood out. It wasn't about becoming someone new. It was about showing the results of years of self-trust and quiet growth. That same steady approach has defined her career. From early success to decades of respected work in movies, television, and theater, Tomei has focused on quality rather than constant attention. She didn't feel the need to appear everywhere or take roles just to stay in the spotlight. She chose projects carefully and allowed space between them. Over time, this built trust with audiences. People learned that when she appeared, it mattered. Her relationship with the public has followed the same pattern. Tomei has always kept her private life mostly out of view. She didn't share personal details to shape her image or stay relevant. She didn't follow the usual expectations placed on celebrities. Because of that, she was sometimes misunderstood. What once seemed distant or mysterious now feels thoughtful and intentional. Her choices show a person who values control over her own story. This recent moment also highlights how Tomei has handled aging. She has never tried to hide time or pretend it isn't passing. She hasn't built her image around staying young. Instead, she has allowed herself to change at her own pace. What people see now is not a sudden makeover, but ease. Ease with her age, her body, and her place in the industry. There is no struggle visible, only acceptance. What made this moment powerful is how little she explained it. She didn't announce a new chapter. She didn't label it a comeback or a transformation. She simply appeared as she is now. That quiet confidence sent a clear message. Growth doesn't always need words. Sometimes it speaks through presence alone. The public response shows that people understand this difference. They weren't reacting to a drastic change. They were responding to authenticity. They saw a woman who has lived, chosen carefully, and stayed true to herself for a long time. That kind of confidence cannot be rushed or copied. In the end, this wasn't about reinvention. It was about clarity. Time didn't erase who Marisa Tomei has been. It deepened it. What people are seeing now is not a new version of her, but a fuller one, shaped by experience, patience, and self-respect. And in doing so, it set the stage for a deeper appreciation of how Marisa Tomei has managed to remain not just relevant, but respected on her own terms. A career built on authenticity. Marisa Tomei's career has never followed the usual Hollywood formula. While many actors chase momentum through constant exposure, carefully timed publicity, or trend-driven reinvention, Tomei built her reputation by doing the opposite. She chose authenticity over speed, substance over strategy. That choice didn't always keep her in the spotlight, but it gave her something more lasting: credibility. Her early success could have easily pushed her into a narrow path. Winning major recognition early in her career created instant visibility, but Tomei resisted being boxed into a single type. Instead of repeating what worked, she took risks, moving between comedy and drama, film and theater, leading roles and supporting ones. This flexibility wasn't about staying busy. It was about staying honest to the craft. Each role felt chosen, not calculated. What set Tomei apart was her refusal to over-explain her choices. She didn't brand herself as edgy, rebellious, or unconventional. She simply worked. When projects aligned with her values or challenged her creatively, she said yes. When they didn't, she stepped back, even if that meant fewer headlines. In an industry that rewards constant visibility, her willingness to disappear and return on her own terms became a quiet form of power. That same authenticity shaped her longevity. As Hollywood evolved, Tomei adapted without abandoning herself. She took roles that reflected her age and experience without treating maturity as a limitation. Instead of fighting time, she worked with it. Her performances grew more layered, more restrained, and often more impactful. Audiences didn't just see a familiar face, they saw growth. Her choices in career have also pointed out the fact that she is a person who gives a lot of value to storytelling rather than to status. Tomei has been the one to portray characters in the projects that have been the most beneficial for the stories, even though sometimes she has had to take on roles that are not so central or glamorous. She got that presence, plays a big role, and is more important than prominence. A well-played supporting role, for instance, could leave a stronger impression than a shallow lead. That way of thinking made her stay relevant without forcing her to change in the first place. One more time, this approach protected her personal life. Not being fully defined by her work, Tomei stayed away from depletion and overexposure, which are the main reasons for the downfall of many actors having long careers. She didn't want to put out the news every time she was successful in her career. She was already separated from it. That separation granted her the ability to keep developing in private while still getting the respect of the public. When she finally got back to the public eye, it was like a comeback and not like a reaction to something. A new phase of her career has been quietly entered in recent years. She is not the one to show her worth. She is one to perfect her. Her presence is enough to make the roles heavy. The directors give their trust to her. The audience sees her as a real person. This trust was not gained instantaneously. It was through years of being consistently good that it was gained. One of the reasons her career is remarkable is that it fits in with her recent metamorphosis so well. Both are the same idea: the value of being real rather than acting. She has previously not been the one to ride the trends in her work, and she is still not the one to ride in how she presents herself. The connection is very strong. Marisa Tomei has never been the one to try to be one step ahead of the trend. She was just the one who stayed true to herself and let the trend catch up with her. That is why her career does not appear to be outdated or to have gone through a nostalgic period. It is alive to the present because it is based on a firm ground. And in an industry obsessed with what's next, Tomei's greatest strength has always been knowing exactly who she is. Style rooted in self-assurance. Marisa Tomei's style has never been loud, forced, or built around shock value. Instead, it has always carried a quiet confidence that feels unmistakably her own. While trends come and go, Tomei's presence has remained consistent, rooted in comfort, intention, and self-assurance. Her recent transformation only sharpened what had always been there, bringing renewed attention to a signature style that never relied on excess to make an impact. From early red carpet appearances to more recent public outings, Tomei has favored simplicity with purpose. She gravitates toward clean lines, natural textures, and silhouettes that move with ease. Her looks rarely feel overstyled, yet they never appear accidental. This balance reflects a deeper philosophy: style as an extension of identity, not a costume designed for approval. It's a visual language built on knowing what works and having no need to explain it. Confidence is the defining element of that signature. Tomei doesn't dress to dominate attention. She allows it to come naturally. Whether wearing a classic gown, a tailored suit, or a relaxed off-duty look, she carries herself with the same composure. That consistency sends a clear message. Confidence doesn't change with the outfit. It comes from within, and everything else simply supports it. Her recent evolution made this even more visible. Rather than masking age or chasing youth, Tomei's updated look leans into clarity and ease. Softer makeup, natural hair textures, and thoughtful fashion choices highlight her features instead of distracting from them. The result feels intentional and modern without trying to prove anything. It's less about transformation through style and more about alignment, outer image catching up with inner certainty. What sets Tomei apart is her refusal to let fashion define her value. She participates in style culture without being controlled by it. When she experiments, it feels playful rather than desperate. When she keeps things minimal, it feels confident rather than safe. This flexibility comes from years of self-trust, not from following advice meant to keep her relevant. Her signature also reflects independence. Tomei has never leaned heavily into branding herself through fashion houses or trend-driven partnerships. While she collaborates with skilled stylists, the final choices always feel personal. The clothes serve her, not the other way around. That autonomy reinforces her image as someone who owns her space rather than borrowing it. Public reaction to her style shift revealed something telling. Fans didn't just notice new clothes or a refreshed look. They responded to the confidence behind it. Comments focused on how comfortable, strong, and present she appeared. That response underscores a truth Tomei has embodied for decades. People connect more deeply with authenticity than spectacle. Style, for Marisa Tomei, has never been about standing out at all costs. It's about standing firm in who she is. Her signature isn't defined by a single look, color, or era. It's defined by consistency, restraint, and quiet assurance. And as her transformation shows, when confidence leads, style naturally follows, without ever needing to shout. That same sense of self-possession doesn't stop at fashion. It extends just as powerfully into how she approaches love and personal life. Redefining love without performance. Marisa Tomei's approach to love has always reflected the same independence and intention that define her career. In an industry where relationships are often public currency, she has consistently chosen discretion over display. That choice has shaped how her personal life is understood, not as a series of headlines, but as a quiet, evolving part of who she is. Over the years, Tomei has been linked to a handful of well-known figures, yet she has never allowed those connections to define her public identity. When relationships surfaced, they did so briefly, often without confirmation or elaboration. She rarely commented, and when she did, her words were measured and grounded. For Tomei, love has never been something to perform. It is personal, private, and deliberately protected. This boundary is not about secrecy for its own sake. It reflects a belief that intimacy loses meaning when constantly observed. Tomei has spoken in interviews about valuing depth, honesty, and emotional safety, qualities that don't thrive under constant scrutiny. By keeping her relationships largely out of view, she preserved space for genuine connection, free from public expectation or pressure. Her perspective also challenges traditional narratives placed on women in Hollywood. There is often an assumption that success must be paired with marriage or a clearly defined romantic arc. Tomei has never followed that script. She has lived openly without apology, showing that fulfillment does not require conformity. Love, for her, exists on her terms, whether that means partnership, independence, or something in between. This has become more pronounced with her growing up. Instead of viewing her private life as half or unresolved, Tomei has always maintained it as a well-thought-out choice. She openly but not urgently discusses the need for a mate. It does not feel like there is anyone rushing after the milestones or trying to keep up with the expectations. Instead, there is a trust in letting life take its own course and revealing itself gradually. The last few years' change in her has only made this outlook stronger. Her fans usually take the vibrant look she has been sporting as a sign that she has found someone, but Tomei has never done anything to validate that idea. It seems to be a transformation that is the result of internal rather than external factors. It indicates that happiness does not always have to come from a partner. It can also come from deep personal understanding that even in making choices, one is free. Tomei's secrecy has also played a key role in preventing her from being categorized. She is not defined by a relationship or past partner. She is first and foremost a complete person, then an artist, a thinker, and a person with rights. That differentiation is significant in an industry that often treats women as non-existent if they are not dating a certain guy, but as who they will eventually turn into if there is a new guy. Most significantly, the position of Tomei does not oppose love. It only changes its perspective. Love is not something she fights against or totally ignores. On the contrary, it is something she so highly values that she is willing to protect it. Her refusal to share her private life with the public secures its worth and purity. This choice also reflects her general philosophy of life. What is really very important does not need to be explained all the time. By selecting privacy, Marisa Tomei selected freedom. Her route is not determined by the public's wants or cultural norms, but by personal insight. In her universe, love is not determined by the extent to which it is visible. It is determined by its being real, and that, just like everything else she opts for, is still a completely personal decision of hers. That same intentionality carries over into how she treats her body, her health, and the process of aging itself. Wellness, aging, and intentional living. Marisa Tomei's recent transformation has drawn attention not just because of how she looks, but because of what it represents. At the center of that change is a philosophy she has embraced for years: living intentionally. For Tomei, wellness is not a trend or a reaction to aging. It is a long-term commitment to balance, self-awareness, and respect for the body and mind. She has often spoken about rejecting extremes. Rather than following rigid routines or quick fixes, Tomei favors consistency and moderation. Her approach to wellness focuses on sustainability, habits that support long-term health instead of short-term results. This mindset is visible in how she carries herself today. There is ease in her presence, suggesting alignment rather than effort. Diet plays a role, but not in a restrictive sense. Tomei has expressed appreciation for clean, nourishing food, emphasizing how what she eats affects not just appearance, but energy and focus. She approaches food as fuel rather than control, prioritizing how it makes her feel over how it makes her look. That relationship with nutrition reflects maturity and trust in her body's signals. Movement is another pillar of her lifestyle. Tomei has long favored practices that combine physical strength with mental grounding, such as yoga and Pilates. These disciplines support flexibility, posture, and core strength, while also offering stress relief. Over time, that combination builds not just physical resilience, but emotional steadiness, something that becomes increasingly valuable with age. Aging, in Tomei's view, is not something to resist. She has been candid about the pressures placed on women in Hollywood to appear frozen in time. Rather than fighting those expectations, she has chosen to redefine them. Her transformation reflects acceptance, not surrender. It shows that aging can be an expansion rather than a decline, an opportunity to refine priorities and deepen confidence. Rest and mental health are equally important in her approach. Tomei has acknowledged the role of sleep, emotional boundaries, and downtime in maintaining well-being. In an industry that rewards constant visibility, choosing rest becomes a radical act. Her lifestyle suggests that stepping back can be as powerful as pushing forward. There is also an intentionality in how she engages with beauty. Tomei favors skincare over heavy makeup, focusing on protection and care rather than concealment. This aligns with a broader shift toward authenticity, enhancing what exists instead of masking it. Her glow feels earned, the result of patience and consistency rather than intervention. Wellness for Tomei is deeply connected to autonomy. She chooses what aligns with her values and discards what doesn't. This extends beyond health into how she structures her life, her work, and her relationships. Aging in this framework becomes liberating. With experience comes clarity, and with clarity comes freedom. Her transformation, then, is not about reversing time. It is about inhabiting the present fully. Tomei's intentional living sends a clear message. Vitality does not come from denial, but from engagement. By listening to her body, honoring her limits, and embracing change without fear, she models a version of aging that feels grounded and empowering. In a culture obsessed with youth, Marisa Tomei offers a quieter, more enduring alternative. Her wellness is not performative. It is lived, and that choice, to age with intention rather than anxiety, may be the most striking transformation of all. That grounded confidence also shows up in the roles she chooses and the way she continues to evolve through her work. Reinvention through work and roles. Marisa Tomei's transformation is not confined to appearance or lifestyle. It is deeply tied to the work she continues to choose. Throughout her career, Tomei has treated acting as a space for reinvention rather than repetition. Each new role becomes an opportunity to explore unfamiliar emotional terrain, challenge expectations, and reflect on where she is in life. That philosophy has grown stronger over time, shaping both her public image and her sense of purpose. From the beginning, Tomei resisted being boxed into a single identity. After early success that could have locked her into one type of character, she deliberately sought variety. comedy, drama, romance, and independent films all became part of her portfolio. This refusal to settle into predictability laid the groundwork for a career defined by flexibility. Reinvention, for Tomei, was never a pivot. It was a habit. As she matured, her choices became more selective. Rather than chasing visibility, she gravitated toward roles that offered depth and complexity. These characters often carried contradictions, strength paired with vulnerability, confidence layered with uncertainty. Playing such roles required more than surface-level transformation. It demanded internal adjustment, emotional discipline, and empathy. Over time, that work began to influence how she carried herself beyond the screen. Tomei has also embraced roles that reflect evolving ideas of womanhood. She has portrayed women who do not exist to be explained or resolved, but who live fully within their own contradictions. These characters resist neat conclusions, mirroring Tomei's own approach to life and aging. By choosing such work, she contributes to a broader shift in how mature women are represented in film. Even within large franchises, Tomei has found ways to bring individuality. Her presence in mainstream projects has not diluted her identity. Instead, it has allowed her to reach wider audiences while maintaining artistic integrity. She brings nuance to roles that could easily become background figures, reinforcing her reputation as an actress who elevates every project she touches. Behind the scenes, preparation plays a significant role in her reinvention. Tomei works closely with directors, writers, and coaches to understand not just the character, but the emotional truth behind it. This process often leads to physical changes, posture, movement, voice, that subtly reshape her appearance. These transformations are not cosmetic. They are functional, rooted in storytelling. Tomei has also been able to extend her career thanks to work through her reinvention. The actress has not merely survived the age, aside from the industry that often marginalizes actresses, but has even made her presence felt by changing her style as per her roles, rather than remaining her past self. Every stage of her career is like a new layer of the previous one, thus preserving the flow without being over the same spot. This gives her the ability to continue her journey without forgetting her past. Nonetheless, she has not been positioning her reinvention as one that was necessary to her story. There is no long tail of chasing after and being on the lookout for trends or keeping up with the times. It is just a matter of giving trust in her intuitions, her experience, and her capability to reach the audience through truthfulness. This trust is what makes her change look natural rather than planned. So far, Marisa Tomei is an illustration of a purpose-driven reinvention in her acting career. Her parts are not meant to be a test for the actress. They are like a canvas, and the play is an artist's way of showing his or her worldview, inquiring, and continuing to be involved with the art of acting. By doing this, she keeps on redefining Hollywood's growth, not as an escape from the persona, but rather as a deeper immersion into it. In the end, her change cannot be helped. It is the same as her art. There is always a little bit left, and that is how the actress gets shaped the way the audience does know her today. For Tomei, reinventing is not a one-time event, but rather a process that is constantly going on, where she communicates with the person she was, the one she is now, and the one she is still becoming. That ongoing evolution didn't just register within the industry, it sparked a wider cultural response. A cultural response beyond headlines. Marisa Tomei's transformation sparked immediate attention, but not because it felt dramatic or manufactured. Fans, critics, and media outlets responded because it felt confident and intentional. The conversation quickly moved beyond surface-level observations and into larger discussions about aging, authenticity, and how women in Hollywood are allowed to evolve. Social media amplified the moment. Fans shared images and reactions that focused less on comparison and more on presence. Words like radiant, grounded, and strong appeared often, suggesting that audiences were responding to something deeper than appearance, a sense of self-possession and control over her own narrative. Entertainment coverage followed a similar tone. Rather than speculating about how or why she looked different, many outlets framed the transformation as part of Tomei's long career. The emphasis shifted to how rare it is for an actress to remain both relevant and respected over decades. This marked a change from past media cycles that often treated visible change as something to question or explain. Fashion and culture commentators also weighed in, praising Tomei for avoiding extremes. She neither clung to youth nor faded into the background. Her look was described as modern without being trend-driven, confident without being rigid. Stylists noted that her self-assurance allowed the transformation to read as empowerment rather than reinvention for approval, an important distinction in an industry where women's appearances are often framed as reactions instead of choices. The impact reached beyond celebrity culture. Tomei's evolution became part of a broader conversation about how women over 50 are represented in media. Many viewers connected her presence to shifting expectations, where maturity is no longer something to hide or soften. She offered an alternative narrative, one where aging and visibility exist together without contradiction. Critics responded positively as well. Reviews of her recent work often referenced her renewed presence, noting how her confidence translated on screen. Instead of distracting from her performances, the attention reinforced her credibility, showing that growth in personal image can enhance artistic impact. Not every reaction was identical. Some expressed nostalgia for earlier phases of her career, but even those responses were largely respectful. Overall, the tone reflected long-standing trust between Tomei and her audience. What made the moment culturally significant wasn't how much attention it received, but how it was framed. Tomei wasn't asked to justify or explain herself. She was recognized as someone who had earned the right to evolve. That response points to something larger than a single moment. It reveals what this phase of her life truly signifies. Redefining growth on her terms. Marisa Tomei's transformation goes far beyond appearance or fleeting attention. It reflects a larger shift in how longevity, relevance, and identity are viewed in entertainment. Rather than responding to pressure, her evolution feels intentional, an alignment between who she is, how she works, and how she chooses to be seen. For years, actresses have faced a narrow choice: stay youthful or fade away. Tomei challenges that idea. She hasn't stepped back from visibility or tried to freeze time. Instead, she's stepped forward with clarity, presenting a version of herself that feels grounded and confident. That choice matters in an industry still shaped by age-based expectations. What makes this moment so significant is its quietness. There were no announcements, nor any explanations given. The turning point was brought about in a very natural way, which was her choices in her career, setting up her limits, and the values she had. Therefore, it seemed to be very real. Not because they were told so, but because the change was perceived as a winning one, the audience reacted. Culturally, Tomei's transformation tells us something about the conversations happening around self-definition, which are particularly relevant to women in midlife. She disputes that the time of growth can only be linked to youth and reinvention. On the contrary, she puts experience, confidence, and self-trust in the center, proving that identity can grow without the past being completely left behind. In her professional life, she is still standing on the good things that have always been her career's backers. Only the way of looking at it has changed. She's got the question of relevance. Rather, she's defining it. Her moves, veiling her private life, meticulously picking the parts, steering clear of saturating the market, have turned her metamorphosis into liberation rather than an act of reaction. This moment does not signify the end of a chapter. It changes the perspective of the story. It tells us that as you grow up, you do not become a different person, but a more fully realized one. Marisa Tomei's transformation proves that real impact doesn't need noise. It needs confidence, intention, and timing. This wasn't about changing who she is, but fully owning it, and that's what made the moment resonate. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories that go beyond the headlines. And don't stop here. Check out the next video on your screen for another surprising story you won't want to miss.